All right, this is great. Okay, everybody. I mean, we still have people joining, but we'll just let them join. We're gonna get started for you. So thank you for thanks for being a part of this webinar. We're really excited to showcase this new feature. And so what we're gonna do today is we're gonna build this application, and what that entails is building this custom real estate listing card here that I've created, which is kind of like a grid view, except for I built it completely custom. And you can see over here, it even has this great favorite functionality where based on different versions of this little icon block, I'm able to heart or unheart an element. So I know a lot of users have requested more customization, and we're really excited to be able to deliver that for you. So this webinar is going to go into details. We're actually going to just go right into building this from scratch here. So let's get started. So I'm going to go create a brand new page, and I'm going to call this new listings. Now, when you want to build something like this, what you want to do is you want to break it down into rows and columns. So in this white card here, there's one row which allows you to put elements side by side. And then within that row, there is a column here that allows you to stack these three elements. And there's a column over here. And this is all invisible, by the way, but you'll see it while we're building it. And then right here is one more row, which has these elements in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by just creating that high level structure, and you can see how things come together as I build them. So I will start by creating a row, and I will set the show background to be on, and I'm going to set the padding to be, how about 25? So that gives it some nice space around it. Now, the first thing I can do is I can add an image. And without any configuration, that image takes up the whole width, but I can turn that off by turning off the fill remaining space. And I think I'll set the height to, oops, I'm editing the wrong setting. Probably 200. Yeah, let's leave it at that. And then maybe 280 for the width. So that looks nice. And what I can do is, in this case, I'll just go back and I'll just copy one of these images to use as the placeholder here. So I've got my image, and it does have some border radius on it, but I'm gonna pump that up a little bit, make it a little more round, so that looks nice. And so all we have right now is a row and one image. But what we can do inside that row is I can add two more columns. You can see it's three items side by side in this row. And now I can start to populate this with some of the other information. So inside this column, I'm going to add two text blocks. I'm going to set this one to be quite large, maybe not that large. And then I'll set this one to be just a little bit bigger. So this will be for the address. Right now, I'll just fill it in with the names of the fields that I actually want to use. So title, address, and then over here, I'm going to add, this is going to be the price. So I'll set that to be nice, large, maybe even extra large for the price. And now, while you're building a layout, some of the things that you want to consider, or most of the things you want to consider, are the sizing. And so in this case, some of the elements have a default width that have been assigned. I'm just going to get rid of that. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to kind of adjust some of these widths and things like that. So I've got this to fill the remaining space. And so I'm going to set this alignment to the right. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So now I have, if I go back to my mockup, I have my price here, I have my title and my address, and I still need to add this heart icon, and then I need to add these cards. So we're getting pretty close already. It's actually pretty easy once you get sort of comfortable with rows and columns. So I'm going to click on this column here, and I notice that there's a little more space than I want between these two. So I'm going to set that to, I think 10 pixels is kind of nice. And then inside this column, I'm going to add one more row. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to build this little icon, whatever you want to call this. Oops. Whatever you want to call this here. We're actually going to build this custom with another row and an icon and then a text. So you can see just how customizable some of these things are in Frontly. So let me just get this straight here. So I've got my column and I've got a row, and inside of it, I've got a row. Fortunately, I have this block hierarchy over here that helps me kind of keep track of some of these things. So I'm going to set the background to on, and I'm going to pick one of my colors. I'll make this a nice, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it partially transparent. So there you go. That's kind of nice. Now, what I'm going to do is inside this row, I'm going to add an icon, and I'm going to add a text. So without any formatting, looks really weird and not exactly what I want. Not really what I want at all, but with a few adjustments, I can make this work. So I'm going to go to this row if I can, and I'm going to add some padding, maybe 7 pixels. I'm going to set the fill remaining space to off, and I'm going to adjust the color of this icon to be my nice blue color. So we're getting a little closer now. I've got my, I just need to make the spacing and the sizing work a little better here. So I'm going to make this, heading medium. That's pretty good. I noticed that there's a default width here for this text, so I'm going to delete that. And in fact, I think I could even, let's see, what do I have to do here? There's a few settings I need to turn off. So there's a fill remaining space. There's a width auto. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so I've set my width to just be automatic based on the content that's inside of it. And now that I've done that, I'm going to add 10 pixels of padding and 10 pixels of padding. And I'm going to remove or turn down the item spacing a little bit. Okay, so we're getting quite close here. And in this case, I'm going to make this the bedrooms icon. So I'm just going to go into my icon browser, and I think, let's see here. What do I have? I think I have an icon here. Yeah, so I've got my bed. So that's great. Now, because I actually want 3 of these inside this row, so I have a row and then I have this basically custom little icon I created. I can just hit Command C or Control C if I'm on a PC, and then Control V or Command V. And I can paste, and because it's inside a row, it's just going to copy them over. And so now all I have to do to make these work is I don't have to, but I'm going to go change my icon. So this one is going to be, I think it's a bath. So it's bedrooms, bathrooms, and then the last one was going to be something like square footage. So I just chose something like size, just some generic thing. So for now, I mean, these are still just in my version. These are just kind of placeholders, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this reusable. So I don't have to worry too much about the actual specific data that goes in here right now, but I can worry about that later. So one thing that I want to do is on my main row, which is this white card, I do want to go set the border radius to more round, because I like the way that looks. So you can see the outside is smoother now. And I do need to go into my column over here, which doesn't really look much like a column right now. And so actually something that I can do, which makes it slightly easier while I'm building these, is go to the page settings in the styles and just turn on the show layout grid lines setting. This just allows me to slightly visualize my rows and columns, just makes it a little easier to keep track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my row, and I'm going to hit the vertical alignment, which centers vertically, centers within this horizontal row. That looks quite nice. And so now, just to make it fit my design a little better, I'm going to go to this row, and I'm actually going to add maybe, about 60 pixels of arbitrary space there. And I'm going to go into this, and I'm going to add my final element here, which is my heart icon. So just quickly select that, type in heart, and I think the one I wanted is in the more. Yeah, there we go. So we've got a little heart. I'll also turn off the fill remaining space, and I will do the same thing I did here, except I will just add, yeah, 80, 100. I'll just basically do this until it looks like the right size. In fact, I am going to change the size of this icon, so why don't I do that first? Yeah, nice big heart there. And I've got my price. So this is great. Yeah, these are pretty close. I think I just want to slightly tweak that so that it pretty much perfectly fits the size. So there we go. I've built the basic building blocks of this component, which at this point you could have done this in the Frontly app, but what you couldn't do is turn this into something that's actually genuinely reusable. So before I make a horrible mistake, I'm just going to hit save. And now what I'm going to do, I'll turn off my grid lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go click on this block, the row, which is essentially the container for my entire block. And I'm going to go to the More tab, and I'm going to click Save as Custom Block. So in this case, I'm going to call this Custom Real Estate Listing, and a fun card for displaying a house. You can give it a name and description, whatever you want. This is just for your own memory, essentially. So when you save something as a custom block, the default is that it's not reusable. So what that means is when you go into your block settings, you can copy it. Like you're basically just duplicating it. You're saving it so that you can add it to other pages if you want. But as you'll notice, I am essentially free to edit this all I want, which is good and bad depending on what you're actually looking for. But in my case, that's not what I want. I don't want, so I'm just going to refresh this page. I don't really want that. In fact, I don't want to edit this in here anymore at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my settings, custom blocks, and I'm going to go into my custom real estate listing. So very familiar interface, feels a lot like the page builder, except this is just for managing my reusable custom block that I just created. So by default, there aren't any special settings here other than I can edit it as a normal block. But what I want to do is I want to go over here and I want to click this reusable toggle. Now what that does is it tells Frontly that you're going to start putting in these reusable input variables into the values here. And when you do that, it will allow you to reuse them across your app without changing the styles over and over and over again. You'll see what I mean here. So let's just do a simple example. So instead of the word title, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to type in input.title. And if I leave it like that, that's what it's going to show as. Or if I want, I can add these two vertical bars and then I can put the word title. So what that does is it displays my placeholder text essentially, but in reality, the text is a variable. And so you can see that just from typing in input.title, I now have this block input over here. And as the admin, the person that's creating this, I get to add a label and a description, like a custom label and description to describe this input. This is very obvious. So it's, card title, and then the title of the card. You may not need to add these if it's very obvious, but depending on how complicated your setup is, you might have a bunch of inputs. Like for these, I'm going to want to put something like, the number of bedrooms or whatever. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to do this just one more time. So I'm going to go input.address, and then I'll add this address. And we'll have an article written about this specifically so that you can get comfortable with how all this works. Keep in mind, this feature is brand new and unreleased. It's only being beta tested by a few users right now. And after this webinar, we're going to make it more publicly available for anyone that's interested. And it's going to be very powerful. So let me hit save. Now, I'm going to go create, well, I'll go back to my page. So the new listings page. Now, remember, I created this in here. I'm actually going to just delete it entirely. So instead of using my block, the one-time block that I created, I'm going to go add my custom real estate listing. But you can see here that it's no longer editable like it normally is, because what I've done is I've essentially kind of locked it at the admin level, and now my custom inputs that I've added can be used here. It's almost like you created your own block, and now you can use it throughout your pages without all the mess and without having to worry about it being changed. So I can type in, my custom title, and it will apply to this instance of that block. But if I had, another version of it, you can see it resets back to the basics. So if I go, let me see. So another custom title. So you can see how this could be really powerful. And also what's really important is that if I change the styles or the layout or really anything, it will affect all instances across my pages. So that's on its own extremely, extremely powerful. So we'll go into a little more detail about that. But what's, believe it or not, actually much more powerful is if we go back to our, I'll just refresh this page. So I don't need these changes here. So I'm going to go to my settings again, go to my custom blocks, and back to my real estate listing. So I showed you what the reusable toggle does. Lets you kind of copy and paste this around your app without having them really be separate. But the repeating option is even cooler. So just by clicking that, we're getting this live preview of what this is going to be like when we use this as a block that repeats itself over every row in our spreadsheet. So just like how you do with a grid and a table and a Kanban, where you connect your spreadsheet and it just loops through all the records, you can now build your own custom reusable block that does that as well. So this is, I admit, a little more advanced than the traditional Frontly methods, but it's going to enable an entirely new way of operating. And the users that are excited to build these things soon will be able to actually build and distribute these through a marketplace. So even if you don't feel like building them, this new feature is going to enable you to have access to lots of new custom blocks with really nice styling that you can use in your apps. So one thing that I just want to show you before I go too much deeper is, if you want, instead of this just being like a horizontal list, you can set this to be you could set it so the cards are only 400 pixels wide, and then it turns into a grid. Or if you want, you can set them to be in a carousel, which allows for horizontal scrolling. So obviously, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to design my block a little bit differently. I didn't design it to be sort of responsive for that size. So I'm not going to keep that setting right now. We can dive into that after. For now, I'm actually just going to keep it as the list, because I think this is quite a nice, it's very minimal. It's big with lots of space. And I think that's what people like. So, it feels kind of like Airbnb or something like that. So now that I've done this, I think we could go through, I probably won't waste time putting every single variable in here just because it can be a little bit tedious. But as you saw, instead of typing in an actual value here, I'm going to type in input.image. So I should be able to add this as a fallback still. But when the user is actually, in this case, the user is going to be me, but when I'm using this block on another page, now, the image is a variable. And of course, the price is important as well. So input.price. So you don't want to get this confused with the actual variables that you would use in a specific spot, because when you're editing a reusable block, you are essentially creating a framework. And then when you go to your other page, that's when you type in your actual variables. So I'll show you that right now. So I've got my price. I'll set a default value here just so it looks nice. $500,000. A little more realistic for my Hawaii properties. Not even close, actually, but better than nothing. All right. So there we go. My inputs have appeared here. I'm not going to bother adding labels and descriptions, but I could, especially if I wanted to distribute this throughout a marketplace. That would be really powerful. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to my page. Again, I'll just delete this because I actually don't need it. This is my original that I didn't save deleting. So now I'll go add my custom real estate listing again. But you'll notice this time it's basically treating it like a regular block, like a grid or something. So because I've made it repeating, it's now telling me I have to add a spreadsheet. I only have one, so that's easy to choose. And it's showing all of my placeholder information. But what's really exciting is it's so easy to just now plug this into my actual data. So in this case, I could, once again, I could type in some static value, but I don't want to do that. I want to type in record dot title, I think. Or maybe in this case, I think my field's actually called name in my spreadsheet. There you go. So you can see that just from typing that in, I'm actually getting a different name on every single one. And so I'll just take that and I'll copy it over to make things a little faster. So I'll put the address, I'll put the price, and you can see it really coming to life here. You know, it's starting to look like a very professional website, which is very exciting. So now, especially with the images in there, that's looking great. I don't know if you've tried this before, but if you ever want to get a bit of a wider view, we have this option right here where you can click and collapse those. So this is great. Like I said, I could go into more details, but I don't want to spend the time. There's no difference between what I just did with the text and address as far as, you know, making these variables as well. So we could definitely do that. And just like any other block, if I want, I can add filters and things like that. So I can go and add a visible filter. I'll set it for, I think, like the bedrooms was well, I didn't set that variable, so that's probably not a very good example. But anyway, you can see how I can do that. So I can say bedrooms is any, or if I want to, in this case, I could set it as a select drop down. Probably that'd be a nice way to do it. So I'll just put it to a select drop down, and I'll set the sorting to ascending. And oh, right, I can even add an icon. So I can add the same icon that matches my beds. And so now, even though I didn't set the variable to actually match here, I can filter for the different ones. Oh, I guess this doesn't apply in the admin mode, but anyway, maybe I'll call this something better, like Hawaii real estate listings. And there we go. So we have part of this really nice looking app. So there's one other part that I think is really cool, and I actually just figured out how to do this today, is my my banner image here. So believe it or not, this is actually accomplishable without custom CSS. It's just using the margin setting. So I literally just have these two blocks on my page. And so I'll start by adding an image. May as well just do it instead of talking about it. So I'm going to drag this image to the top, and I think I'll save this, and I'm going to go actually get my banner image. So I'm going to go to my drop down here to my assets page, and I've already uploaded my image, so I can just click, and then I can head back to my page, and now I can drop it in. So I've got my image. It looks okay, but there's a few things that I need to change. So I'm probably going to collapse that and open this. All right. So border radius for sure. I want that to be nice and round there. And that looks great. So I can adjust the sizing of the image as well. Like my image is actually this shape, but I could either have it fill. In this case, it stretches it a little weirdly, so I'm not really a huge fan of that. I think I'll stay with the cover, and then I'm going to make it taller. So I don't remember what I did in my actual app. I think it was like 500 or something like that. So this is fine, but let's see. So okay. So one thing that I haven't done yet is I haven't added a background color to the page, because I actually want this page background color to be white. And then I want this background color, which I haven't even added yet. So yeah, that's another thing I didn't mention. You can still add a background just like you normally would for these custom repeating blocks. So that's really nice. So the background color of this block is going to be this gray color. And now I'll add a border radius to that as well. So it kind of matches the same style as the image above. And I'm going to add some padding, maybe 25 or 30. Okay, this is looking pretty cool. Let's just go compare. I think, yeah, that's probably pretty similar. So I think maybe I'll even do 35. All right, so now I have these two, and the only difference between this and this is that I was able to set a margin on either side of this to make it go a little bit smaller. And then I was also able to set a negative margin, which is a pretty crazy concept. I won't spend too much time digging into it. I don't recommend doing this all the time, but when I was playing around with this, I realized that I was able to do something pretty cool. So if I go to this right here, I'm going to set my margin to, let's see, 50, maybe 40 and 40. So that's how I got it to go a little more narrow than the block here. And then I have to set so if I set a margin of, let's say 10 or something, that's actually going, it's pushing it down. But a negative margin, which probably most people don't even realize is possible, and I'm not sure if it's advisable, you can actually start to inch it up on top of the block before it. So I think just looking at this, it seems like maybe I don't want this to be quite as tall, and then I do want this to be higher up on it. So probably negative 300. I mean, this is, you can kind of do what you want. This is just a fun idea. And so if I go preview my page, my actual live page, let's see how it's looking. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty much there. I've got all of this stuff. It doesn't look exact. I mean, I guess I just set the margin settings just slightly different. That's all. You can see because I've overlapped it, if I make this active, it actually lets me like preview it. So it's a little bit strange. Looks a bit glitchy, but it's somewhat intentional. So anyway, there's that. So we've gotten through building this very custom, very nice looking new way of doing things. But before I go too much deeper into that, I just want to go back and sort of re-articulate that once I have a custom block, I can decide I want to make a new version. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to go duplicate custom block. So it just creates a duplicate. You can see here it says copy. So now I can play around with this and try to make maybe the grid version of it, and we can just explore that just slightly. So I'm going to set this back to grid, and I'm going to go to I think 400 min width is still pretty good. I do like the way this looks. However, it's not designed for this size. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to delete, in this version, I'm just going to delete that section. And now it's looking a little bit closer, but I guess I sort of accidentally reset that somehow. So I'm just going to hit save. All right. So it's getting closer, but what I want is, instead of this being a row, this like the base block that everything is inside here, it's in a horizontal row. So it's pushing the image and these beside each other. I'm going to change that. So I'm going to go to the row, and at the very bottom, this is exclusive to row and column blocks just because they're almost interchangeable. There's now a button that says switch to column or switch to row. So all it does is essentially resets that block, kind of clears the settings, but it just means you don't have to move everything around in the block hierarchy just to create a new column and all of that. So now if I want to make this look great, I really only have to make a few changes. I can go to my row, and I'm going to remove the majority of that spacing. And then I can click on this image, hit fill remaining space. And really, I mean, that looks great. That's pretty much what I wanted. Now, if I did want to instead, I could put it back to the carousel so that it's like this cool horizontally scrolling thing. And that's basically that's something to really spend some time playing around with. You also have this block spacing as well. You can adjust the space between them. You can even set it to 0 if you really want. Maybe, yeah. I mean, that's something. The 25 is a nice, pretty standard size there. So there's only one more thing that I'm going to do a quick demo of now, and then maybe we can answer some questions and talk about anything else that anyone wants to talk about. So you can build almost anything you want with these features, and so I do highly recommend people who are interested spend some time once they get access to this feature. Really try playing around with the different options. You can already experiment with rows and columns all you want in your pages and save them as custom blocks. The only thing that you're missing right now in the live apps is just the ability to take it to this next level and make them reusable. So we'll have a way for you to get access to that. We'll send something out in an email to everyone who attended this webinar. So thanks for attending. And now, one last thing that I'm going to do, because I think people will be pretty interested, is I was able to hack together this cool liking system. So I'll just refresh the page to make sure the data is still totally up to date here. Yeah, okay. So I created this heart, and I was able to add a click action, and I was able to use our brand new block versions feature, which allows me to define 2 different states for this icon in particular, and the click actions, which are different. And so in this case, if I go back to my real estate listings, I really simplified this because creating a real, like a favorites system is more complicated than this. You have to store the data in a certain way, and I didn't want to go into that detail. So what I've done is I have a field called liked, and all that means is right now, anyone that's viewing the app has access to the same likes and would be able to like or unlike. So it's not really what you would want in an app like this necessarily, but I thought it was worth showcasing the block versions. So all they are is false or true for each of these listings. And if I go to this first listing, it'll update, and it updates in real time because I configured a click action, and you can see it only happens to that specific row. So it's really slick. And all the while, because I didn't make any other adjustments, the default is still the custom or the default detail view. So I can go and make changes just like normal, but with this nice modern interface that I've created. So what I'm going to do is just quickly go over how I achieved this block version setup with the heart icon. I'm going to close this because I've got too many windows open here. Now, let's go to my heart. So this isn't enabled yet in this version, and I think I would probably set this to more of like a gray when it's not being used. And so you probably don't have access to this yet, but again, we're going to be giving access to this after the webinar to everyone who's interested. It's called Block Versions. It's brand new and it's very powerful. So what you have to do is, by default, you're just, you're editing the basic version of the block. There's nothing special about it. But if you want to create another version that can be triggered based on a certain set of conditions, then all you have to do is click this plus sign. So now I've created another version, and before I even do anything, I can go and give that version a name. So I'm going to call this liked. So that's just my liked state for this button. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a version condition. And so these conditions, just like throughout the app, there are all these sets of conditions you can create. And these conditions must be true in order for this version to show. It's as simple as that. So if this condition is true, then this version of that block is going to be the one that shows. And if it's not, it's going to default back to the basics. So I'm going to create this condition, and it's very simple. It's just going to be record.liked, which is the name of my field in my spreadsheet, liked. So record.liked, and I could do equals something, but when I'm dealing with true and false, the safest way is to use this called is true. All that does is just Frontly is able to take, whether it's lowercase or uppercase or capitalize or something, we're able to make sure that we check if it's the word true or not. And so this is a nice stable way of doing that. And so that's the only thing I have to do for my condition. And so in my version of this, if I hit save, let me go and let's see, where's my page? So I'm going to go to my new listings page and I'm going to hit preview. So, right, I created the new version, but I didn't apply any styles to it yet. So that's pretty important. I'm going to go back to my custom blocks, go back to my, oh, not my copy. There's the same little editor up here. You can jump between your custom blocks that you're editing. So, all right. As you can see, I have these two versions, default and liked. So when I'm editing a certain version, it'll tell me that I'm editing it. That's what this means. So I'm currently editing this version. And so now if I want to adjust this icon to a nice red color, I can do that. And I can even change the actual icon itself for this version. So again, go down here, I'll find my filled heart. And if I toggle between the versions, you can see it updates in real time. This is like a preview of the version that I'm currently editing. And so back to my point in the live app here, I'll just refresh the page. And so now we should see that, yeah, so the ones that are liked are showing as the red heart. And the only thing we haven't done is we haven't actually triggered any kind of action here. It's quite simple. I'm going to go into my click action. I'll go back to my default version first. So I'm going to go click action, select the step type, Google Sheet, select my listings, and then I'm going to go to edit. So what I want to do here is I want to edit the record that I'm clicking on. I want to edit the value of the liked field, which is down here, and I want to edit it to true. That's if I click on the default version. So the only other thing I have to do here is record.frontlyID for my row ID. So that's all I have to do here. I'm editing the row that matches this Frontly ID, and I'm setting the value of liked to true. So I can do the same thing, but opposite for the liked version. So I can set this click action. I'll just do the same thing again. I'm gonna go edit. So record.frontly ID. Oops. And in this case, instead of true, I'm going to say false. So there is pretty much, I think, unless I mess something up, we should have this completely functional way. I'll just clear out this other thing. So yeah, these are all working well. And if I click on this, you can see it updates in real time. And there's even a little loading spinner state, and it's just great. I didn't even have to configure that part. That's automatic. So there you go. We've pretty much built our we've built a replica of the page we were attempting to build. And of course, we're going to release this as an app template and maybe even a custom block that you can install very soon. So I'm going to just turn off my my screen sharing here. And the whole time I did that, I have no idea if anybody was saying anything. So now now I'm here, and I really appreciate everybody taking the time to be here. So I don't know, Justin, while we were rolling, do you think there were any kind of questions that popped up that you want to talk about, or should we just kind of
Totally, yeah. Mr. Solarbang had a great question I wanted to run past you. Sorry, I'm just looking for it right now. Is there any way, I'm paraphrasing the question, but is there any way you can enable pagination for the reusable blocks? Is that already something that exists? Okay.
Yeah. So the reusable blocks have the exact same settings as grids and grids and tables. So the results per page setting can be adjusted. And furthermore, I think yesterday I actually pushed an update to the results per page setting. It's just an input field now. So you can just set whatever number you want. It is maxed out at 100. So don't try to go higher than that. But the point is, depending on the shape and size of your repeating elements, you may want there to be a specific number. Like, for example, if my page is going to be like 2 by 2 down the page, I don't want there to only be 5 elements per page, because that doesn't add up, and then it's going to be an uneven number and it's going to be very irritating. So yes, pagination is handled just like the rest of the blocks.
Awesome. Les Henderson asked, can't you create a filter where like tests to also match users such that not everyone sees the items that they haven't liked? I think you mentioned this earlier.
Yeah, so I mean, it is totally possible to build a system. I just honestly, I haven't really thought too much about how to do it with Frontly. There's the challenge with something like a favorites system is you do have to record like each sort of instance of the likes in some kind of table or something like that. So I mean, I'm pretty sure some of our experts have actually already figured this out. And it may require Google Sheet formulas at this point if you're doing it, but it's something that's on my radar to try to make it even easier. So we'll do like another session or a tutorial on that.
Awesome. I think a lot of people like myself, when we hopped into this call today, Patrick, didn't expect the level of sophistication that you were going to drop on all of us and the level of customization. So
maybe not.
Yeah, Dr. Leslie Jensen Inman asked, what was the important takeaway about the difference between the variable and the reusable block and the variables on the listings page? I think it was I think the understanding of that concept was a little lost in the shuffle.
Okay, sure. So I'm not sure if I totally understand the question, but let me try to answer anyway. So right now in the live version of the app, you can save a block as a custom block, but it just is what it is. It doesn't turn into any other thing. You can't pass in, like you can't loop it, essentially, is really the most important part. But the other, I guess, also important part is that if you create a block and you make it reusable, then you actually manage the structure and the styling all at the app level. And so if you added that block to 10 different pages and you put your little variables in, like you define the inputs so that those inputs are the only thing that changes, but the style and the layout and even some of the functionality, depending on how you set it up, are the same. And so what's really amazing about that is you get to start, you're essentially building your own like reusable library of these components that you can use across your pages. And eventually you'll be able to use them across your apps. That's definitely something that we're working on. We just have to figure out how to make it work. We are going to be also launching a block / sort of app kind of marketplace, as I mentioned, I think earlier. So that's something that we're really looking forward to, letting users who are really excited about this go and build a bunch of really cool stuff and share it with the community. We'll be able to build stuff much more easily and distribute it to users. So that's really the core idea here, is that Frontly was initially designed with the idea of being like kind of a custom developer platform, because I'm a developer and that's what I wanted. And over time, I got a bit distracted, and the Google Sheets angle was really very, compelling. But through that process, we ended up making things almost, I don't want to say too simple, but there were a lot of stylistic things you could not do just because we were really focusing on the core functionality of like editing your data. Now I've made a decision that, I really want to make Frontly a powerful developer platform, but a no-code developer platform. So I want to get to the point where you can pretty much do whatever you imagine, at least design-wise, and hopefully eventually even, logic-wise. But we're working on it. And so the combination of custom reusable blocks and the block versions, which, as you saw, can be used with each other, really, really takes Frontly to the next level. And I think more than that, what's going to take Frontly to the next level is our amazing community that is going to be able to work together and share with each other. So anyway, thank you all for being a part of this. I really, really appreciate it. Someone asked, Marcelo asked, can I put a repeater inside another? I haven't tried it yet, and I'm scared to. But I think, like, technically, it's hard to say. I think it might be an issue, but I'm not sure. I'd have to think about how that works. My fear with something like that is what we don't want is this sort of like exponential, like you have 100 rows and inside that you have 100 tables, and each table, it's like it could get kind of crazy. So we're just going to have to make sure that it's working like that. And Andrew said, love the vision. Please don't forget us non-developers. Don't worry. As you saw today, even though it was a bit technical, there was no custom CSS required. So still purely no code. And really, I guess like I was saying, one of the biggest things that should be exciting about this is that some of you may never have to use these features, because users who do want to build them, including us, like I'll be going in just like I did today. I'll probably do weekly tutorials where I build something and then also make it accessible to you in the app, like in a library. So you can just install it and you don't have to build it. But the fact that we can means that Frontly is going to be able to scale in a totally different way. The last 6 months has been endless feature requests, which we totally appreciate. But of course, as a small team, we're just not able to, accommodate everything. And so this is one of the ways where I think we're going to be able to really almost solve that once and for all, where at least stylistically and design and layout wise, it's totally up to the users now. We'll be able to just unleash the dragon and just let that sort of take its course. And then we get to focus on the parts of the platform, essentially adding those, little tweaks and features that enable the next level of customization.
I got a question for you, Patrick, here.
Sure.
Just on the topic of scalability, but unrelated to the styling and customizability. Someone asked, long-term, will there be an ability to connect to relational databases like Airtable or AI-table?
Yes. Basically, right now, we do have the Supabase integration, which is in beta, which is a very scalable database, which is awesome, but it's a bit developer-y. It's an actual database. I mean, Supabase is essentially a layer for dealing with like a Postgres database. So I chose it because I had experience with it and I really, really like it. I think we can do a lot with it. We might even be able to sort of wrap Supabase and offer our own like internal database solution, kind of like basically like Airtable. I think we can eventually do something like that, where it's like, maybe you don't have to have your data in a Google spreadsheet if you don't want. You just click a button and migrate your data right into a scalable database. And there are a lot of benefits of that. Like Google Sheets is such a good baseline, but once you have more than a few thousand rows, like it's just kind of slow. And especially if your app starts to look as beautiful as the kinds that we're going to be building, you're not going to want it to be, sluggish. So it's really a personal choice, but I would say that in the next month, we're going to be spending probably most of our energy tidying up, these features, testing them, hopefully launching this block marketplace. But after that, I think data integrations is going to be a big part of our strategy, because essentially there's nothing limiting us from connecting with a whole host of different databases. Really, the challenge is just trying to, figure out how to put the time into that when there's so many other things going on. So Airtable is on the list. AI-table, I still haven't checked it out, but it's been asked for by tons of people. So definitely considering that. I mean, there's no real limit there. I think in the next like 3 to 6 months, I think we're going to do quite a lot of this.
Awesome. I think we've covered most of the questions here, and of the questions in the Q&A, I think I answered some of them in the chat as they came through the chat as well. So I see a lot of great comments, a lot of support from our community and our fans. So I don't know if anyone wants to fit in another last few questions here.
Yeah, we can just, we can hang out for a couple more minutes, maybe let people filter in a few things. So just to kind of recap on how we're going to proceed after this. So these features are still in like a private beta right now, which means that you won't be able to just access it immediately. But what I'll do is I'll send out an email to everyone just to sort of let you know how you can access the new features, and that will be today. So we'll definitely, these are new features, so there's still some potential problems. It's still, I'm going to still call it beta mode for now. Someone asked if you can put credentials to lock down the page. Yes, absolutely. I specifically made this page public just so that I could share the link with you guys. But by default, your pages are not publicly accessible. They do require login. You actually have to go set your sheet and your page to both like not require login essentially in order for that to happen. Someone just asked about if we plan to make it possible to build SaaS applications on top of Frontly. Absolutely. That is basically my goal now. It means a few things. We're going to have to build out a nice Stripe payment integration just to make it a lot more streamlined. Yeah, Stripe integration. Exactly. So that's something that we're going to do. It's just, probably in the next month, I think I'll probably have a Stripe integration. And there are a few other things that would make Frontly sort of like SaaS compatible. I think it's just a matter of, it's just a matter of a few more features, maybe some more branding stuff. We're trying to figure out some stuff like that. I'm not certain about PayPal. I mean, really, like the good thing about Frontly and the way that it works right now, especially in conjunction with workflow automation tools like Make and Zapier, is that you already can pretty much build a payment system. You just have to use like webhooks and send the data from like Stripe payments updating your Google Sheet or something like that. So it is already possible to some extent, but when we do decide to build out payment integrations and stuff like that, it'll just be to make it way easier. Just like how, authentication, like login and sign up is just built in. You don't have to do anything. It'd be pretty sweet if within Frontly you could just define your payment plans that you want to offer and it's just done. And you just have like a payments page or something like that. So, we're thinking about it. You'd have to have a Stripe account and connect it and stuff like that. So obviously we're not actually going to take your payments for you, but like Stripe does that and we'll make it easy to have it integrated. So I think there was, oh yes. We try less. We try to do, we get a lot of feedback and after all the feedback we've had, other than, people requesting data integrations and stuff like that, it just became clear that at a certain point, we need to give more power to the users to be able to do more without needing us to get in the way. Frontly was a pretty opinionated platform, and I think we're opening up to be less. I mean, we still want you to build very nice looking things, but we're gonna try to make it easier. Customizing the login page. That's definitely on the list. I'm trying to figure out exactly how to do that. It might just be a matter of, I don't know, could be like a new kind of page builder just for the login page where you can add blocks and stuff around it. Or maybe we just start with a few new predefined, really nice looking login page templates and stuff like that. Someone asked about Supabase. So I think you can just go to the integration settings in Frontly and add your Supabase information. If you search in our help center for Supabase, you should find an article. I don't think I have to manually enable that for people. So that's good. Someone asked about this. Bob said we have AI to assist us at the beginning. Is it possible to have it throughout the app to ask questions how to fix stuff? Yeah, I mean, that's, of course, like as we evolve, we do definitely hope to build out more AI things. Something that I've been thinking about a lot as I've been building this feature out is having AI specifically design layouts. So, you could just say like, I want a page like this, and it'll sort of add rows and columns and stuff. That's definitely something we're gonna do. It's just what we kind of need to do. There's an order of operations. First, we need to make sure these features are live and stable and everything's going well. And then once things kind of settle down a little bit with the new features that we're releasing, then we can go and build AI automations around them, because it takes about as much time to build AI automations and AI generation stuff as it does to build the features. So we need to make sure that the features aren't going to change. And then we'll be able to do that. So that's great. Anyway, I think, we're always on Discord, of course. If you're not on Discord, then definitely join. Justin, do you have that link by any chance, just so we can make sure that
I should have it offhand, but I do not.
I can grab it. So yeah, we're gonna post a link here, just to make sure that anyone here has not, if you haven't joined the Discord. Now, where do I do this? I think I can post it in the takeaways. I'll put it there. Discord link. Okay, I'm going to do that. And then I'm also going to post it in the chat, Discord. There you go. So anyone that's not there, there are over 1,200 people in our Discord community. It's very active. So, it's a great spot in there, especially to share. And one last thing is, for anyone that is interested in either upgrading their account to a higher tier plan for more features, or anyone that doesn't have a paid plan and they're interested in locking in a plan, I will be sending out a custom offer for upgrading your account with the email today. So watch for that. It'll be in the next couple hours. You'll get an email with some recap information, and we'll also try to get the replay of this webinar live ASAP. So thank you so much, everybody. We could sit here and jam all day, but yeah, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Great to see you all again.